This is my scorecard. President William Ruto delivers his third State of the Nation address. We have details of what he said and, more importantly, what he never said. Plus, Kenya's infrastructure is headed for a major turnaround at a cost of 5 trillion Kenya shillings. Who is going to fund these? All these details are coming up here on the Prime Edition. We are live from Broadcasting House and we're coming up on air with some breaking news. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Please stay tuned for all these plus business stories as well as sports news. And that is coming up next after the highlights.
Inflation, which stood at 9.6% in 2002, in 2022, has steadily declined to 4.6% as of last month, bringing much-needed relief to households.
The economy is steady, says President Ruto as he outlines his achievements during his third State of the Nation address to Parliament. The arrival of ballot papers. IEBC receives the first batch of electoral materials ahead of November 27th by-election. In high gear, politicians trade accusations amid fears of planned chaos on the day of by-elections. A slap on the wrist. Protest at all Kalau law courts after a judge hands out 5-year jail term to a murder convict. Many thanks for joining us. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle, and Anwangeshin is my companion on the side of the sign language interpretation. President William Ruto projects a stronger economic rebound for the year 2026, forecasting a GDP growth of between 5 to 6%. Addressing Parliament during the annual State of the Nation address, President Ruto says the economy has turned a decisive corner after a period of volatility with stable inflation, revived activity in the capital markets and a stable shilling. Trevor Ngendo has more details.
President William Ruto said the reform measures undertaken over the past 2 years have restored market confidence, attracting new investor commitments that have helped reverse negative sentiments that had weighed on the economy.
Inflation, which stood at 9.6% in 2002, in 2022, has steadily declined to 4.6% as of last month, bringing much-needed relief to households. The shilling, once in perilous downward spiral, has stabilized at 129 to the dollar for nearly 2 years, a direct consequence of prudent monetary policy and disciplined fiscal management.
He says Kenya's economy is now valued at $136 billion, making it the 6th largest economy in Africa. The president highlighted the resurgence of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, which he said has become one of the best performing in emerging markets globally after a prolonged slump driven by global risk aversion and domestic uncertainties.
This steep rise, ladies and gentlemen, is not accidental. It is the product of deliberate choices, disciplined execution, and strategic reforms that have strengthened our economy and unlocked its potential.
A central theme of the address was job creation, where the president said the affordable housing program has already generated over 428,000 jobs, with the figure projected to hit 1 million next year.
International markets have taken note. Just this week, 14 of the world's leading financial institutions, including Citigroup, JP Morgan, Standard Chartered, and Goldman Sachs, projected that Kenya's economy will expand by between 5 and 5.8% in 2026. This confidence is anchored in solid fundamentals.
He says reforms have expanded credit access for over 3 million Kenyans who are now borrowing formally through the Hustler Fund. The president also highlighted youth-focused gains, noting the 300,000 youth now earning through Ajira and Jitume programs, with the Nyota program expected to support 820,000 young Kenyans over the next 5 years.
Credit alone is not enough. Many young people do not lack ideas, they lack opportunity. That is why we launched Nyota, the National Youth Opportunities and Transformation Agenda, one of the most ambitious youth empowerment programs in our history.
Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
And still with the State of the Nation address, where the government says it has turned around an education sector it found in distress, tackling issues ranging from troubled competence-based curriculum transition and teacher shortages to overstretched university finances and inadequate infrastructure. President William Ruto, while delivering his third State of the Nation address before a joint sitting of Parliament, noted that through a student-centered funding model, nearly 500,000 learners benefited from scholarships and loans based on needs and merit. He added that the recruitment of teachers, the construction of classrooms and laboratories, and rising enrollment in technical vocational education training institutions are key towards restoring dignity and opportunity in learning.
In his third State of the Nation address, President William Ruto described Kenya's education sector as one that was deeply distressed when his administration assumed office.
When I assumed office, our education sector was in distress with a strained KBC transition, a chronic teacher deficit, universities on the edge of insolvency, and overstretched infrastructure. We moved quickly to restore education as the great equalizer.
Central to these reforms is the student-centered funding model, and so far, nearly 500,000 learners have benefited.
Through the student-centered funding model, scholarships and loans now follow need and merit, placing the learner at the center.
In addressing the teacher shortage crisis, the head of state said that 76,000 teachers have already been hired, with an additional 24,000 expected by January 2026. Easing congestion and supporting the competency-based education curriculum has also been top on the priority list, with infrastructure expansion also underway.
Together with the national government CDF, we have delivered 23,000 new classrooms and 1,600 laboratories are under construction, easing congestion and giving KBC the dignified facilities it requires.
The government says technical and vocational education and training institutions are now engines of workforce development. This occasioned by the surging numbers of enrollment. With these measures, the president says the government aims to ensure every child experiences dignity in learning. Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
And still in Parliament, where farmers are expecting to harvest over 70 million bags of maize by the end of the current harvest season, as maize growing regions register a bumper harvest this year. President William Ruto says increased production is due to agriculture sector reforms and subsidizing of farm inputs and other targeted interventions by the government.
7 million farmers have so far been registered in the Kenya Integrated Agriculture Management Information System, from 3,000 in 2022. President William Ruto says data from the registration exercise has seen the government scale up targeted interventions in the agriculture sector. He says the government has used the farmers' registration exercise to inform distribution of 21 million bags of fertilizer between 2022 and 2025. The target is to distribute 12.5 million bags of fertilizer next year.
To date, over 21 million bags of affordable fertilizer have been distributed, reducing the price by nearly 2/3 and saving farmers Kenya shillings 105 billion so far. This year alone, we delivered 7 million bags of fertilizer and 35 million kilos of certified seed.
Plans are also underway to start distribution of subsidized cotton seeds and edible oil crops to reduce Kenya's import bill.
Edible oils acreage under production expanded by 90% between 2022 and April 2025, cutting the edible oil import bill by 17 billion in 1 year. By 2027, we aim to halve this bill, saving Kenya nearly 60 billion in foreign exchange.
In measures aimed at increasing agriculture exports, Kenya is implementing measures to increase coffee production from the current 60,000 metric tons to 150 metric tons in the next 3 years.
The coffee sector, once on the brink of collapse, is roaring back. Nearly 50,000 seedlings have been distributed. Earnings have risen from an average of Kenya shillings 70 per kilo to now between 120 and 150 shillings per kilo.
He says increasing land under irrigation to support year-round production will be key in boosting agro-processing.
At least 50 mega dams nationwide, alongside 200 additional medium and small dams, and thousands of micro dams to collect and store water, not only to secure our food supply, but to bring at least 2.5 million additional acres under irrigation within the next 5 to 7 years.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Hi, my name is Angel. I'm 9 years old. I'm currently in grade 5, joining grade 6 next year. My talents are dancing and acting. My fellow kids, I can tell them they should never give up with their dreams.
Je viens d'un tiers l'école junior. Mon voyage est plus proche de l'école secondaire. So, ni nani mnama katika hii shule?
Siliwewe, Madam Boss.
Madam Boss.
They love everything about maps. In today's book, we learn about directions.
My name is Stephanie, and today I'm going to show you how to make chicken pasta.
Unaijua sauti ya imani ambayo ilisimama thabiti ingawa ilipata shida.
Miaka ilivyopita, Uislamu uliposimama imara, Mtume Muhammad aliamua kumchagua Bilal kuwa muadhini wa kwanza katika Uislamu.
Tumeona watu wakikata tamaa na wengine ambao hawana imani wakaamua wengine mpaka kujitia kitanzi. Kwa wengine mmefanya makosa ambayo umeona yametutoa katika Uislamu. Usikate tamaa na rahma ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ya Nabi salam alayka, ya Rasul salam alayka.
They want to look at the dynamics, the definition, and also the deep understanding of worship.
We need first to understand who he is before we can worship him. Because when it comes to worship, what we are worshiping isn't what he's doing, but who he is. Yeah. You are good, You are kind, you are more than this. Yeah, so that's worship. Praise is for what he has done for creation or toward creation. Yeah.
Hold my hands, Jesus, hold my hands. I cannot do without you.
Make it Maker.
Mshikamano nchini ndo nguzo ya ufanisi.
Tukiondoa mitihani ya kitaifa itakuwa namna gani?
Kufanya haya mitihani inaleta msongo wa mawazo kwa wanafunzi.
Lengo wazi la kufaulu mtihani kuu ni kuwahimiza wanafunzi kujituma na kujifunza kwa bidii, kwa kuwa matokeo ya mtihani huwa na uzito mkubwa.
Funga sentence kwa kuzingatia kiwakilishi cha idadi.
Watatu wameenda sokoni.
Watatu wameenda sokoni, makofi mpigie. Nomino magonjwa ipo katika ngeli gani? Pate Ryan.
Uya.
Tena Ryan.
Uya.
The police come.
Also, Kenya will spend 5 trillion shillings to invest in various infrastructure projects in the next 3 years. President William Ruto has told Parliament that some of the projects include the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, expansion of the standard gauge railway to Malaba and key roads. The President has further said Kenya is banking on public-private partnerships to develop key infrastructure corridors in the country.
Kenya's infrastructure gap stands at more than 1 trillion shillings, leading to a huge hole in funding gap. This has seen major projects falling behind schedule due to fiscal pressure. This year, the government has earmarked more than 600 billion shillings to build key roads, expand ports and railway infrastructure. Speaking during the third State of the Nation address at Parliament buildings, President William Ruto said the Ministry of Roads and Transport has mapped out 2,500 kilometers of highway earmarked for dualling and 28,000 kilometers of new tarmac roads to be constructed over the next decade.
Efficient transport and logistics are the backbone of our competitiveness. They accelerate national development, connect products to markets, move goods and services, lower the cost of doing business, and will reinforce Kenya as the aviation and commercial capital of East and Central Africa.
To demonstrate the momentum already underway, the head of state revealed that next week he will launch the dualling of the 170-kilometer Rironi-Naivasha-Nakuru-Mau Summit Road, followed by the groundbreaking of the 58-kilometer Rironi-Mai-Mahiu-Naivasha Road.
The gridlock that paralyzes these roads every day, especially on weekends and holidays, will soon, by God's grace, be a thing of the past.
While acknowledging that the estimated 5 trillion shillings required to deliver the 4 priority infrastructure programs is a massive undertaking, the President urged the 13th Parliament to rally behind the transformative agenda, framing it as a defining step towards positioning the country as a modern, competitive and connected nation.
These 4 projects are our national imperatives. Commitments we must embrace without hesitation, not because they are easy, not because they are cheap, but because they are absolutely necessary.
Jacqueline Masharia for Prime Edition.
Elsewhere, the government says Kenya's healthcare system is making big progress, driven by innovative and policies focused on inclusion. During the State of the Nation address in Parliament on Thursday, the President said that the number of Kenyans registered under the Social Health Authority has more than tripled compared to the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund. He also said that over 10,000 health facilities across the country have joined the new system.
President William Ruto says Kenya's healthcare system is undergoing its most ambitious transformation in decades. During his State of the Nation address in Parliament on Thursday, the president revealed that 27 million Kenyans are now registered under the Social Health Authority.
This is a demonstration that leaving no one behind was and is not a slogan. It is a promise on course to fulfillment. Additionally, more than 10,000 health facilities across the country have signed in to serve under this new system.
President Ruto commended the work of the 107 community health promoters promoting preventive health care in the face of increasing non-communicable diseases.
Consider three statistics. 8.9 million households have so far been visited. 9.9 million diabetes screenings have been done with 134,000 cases diagnosed. 6.5 million hypertension screenings have been conducted. This is the meaning of universal health care.
The government is also rolling out the National Equipment Service Project, replacing the previous leasing model that burdened counties with high upfront costs. Additionally, the president said the long-standing crisis in the availability of essential medicines is easing.
Under the new fee-for-service system, private partners install, maintain, and run state-of-the-art equipment, and public facilities pay only when they use them. We have overhauled KEMSA to end the chronic crisis of drug shortages.
In response to the rising cost of cancer treatment, the government announced a major boost in financial protection for patients.
Social Health Authority will enhance the cancer benefits package from the current 550,000 shillings to Kenya shillings 800,000, effective December 1.
Marie Ambo reporting for the Prime Edition.
You're watching the Prime Edition, giving you a comprehensive coverage of today's State of the Nation address. Our big interview is coming up next as we look back at the third State of the Nation address by President William Ruto. Stay right here.
I'd like to see what Mr. Zuniga's wife says when she finds out.
Stop lying, tell the truth.
I swear
Who
that...
have you told that we're having an affair?
I swear that I haven't told anyone, Amateur.
Aren't you interested in my Aunt Rebecca, huh?
Lea Premium Flour, nurturing the world. Available in a store near you.
When the hills gave way in Marquette, thousands were left with nothing. But together, we can help them rise again. Join KBC in the Restore Hope, Restore Earth campaign, Unity in Adversity. Together for Marquette. Donate through paybill number 522533, account number 8036543, or drop foodstuffs and supplies at Marquette County offices. Every shilling, every tree, every act of kindness counts. KBC, bringing Kenyans together.
You're watching the Prime Edition, coming up on there with some breaking news and, of course, analysis and stories that really summarize the State of the Nation address, which was delivered today at 2:30, actually 2:35, by President William Ruto. This is his third State of the Nation address, and of course we have given you blow-by-blow accounts of what transpired in Parliament during the sitting of by members of Parliament to listen to that highly important speech. And of course we continue also to look at some of the reactions by members of Parliament, by members of public. Now on Twitter, there is at James Thige. You're saying, I listened to the President. First of all, kudos for time management. The speech was quite inspiring. We wish now to see more money in our pockets. There is Evelyn Achieng. You said, this is what you're saying. I listened to the speech. The President needs to do more walking than talking. There is also Tony Otumo. At Tony Otumo, and you're saying the speech was quite inspiring. Kenya is indeed headed in the right direction. And also, there's also another one here from at James Opry, and you're saying, I look forward for the renovation of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. It is such a national shame. Well, those are some of the comments coming through from our viewer. Please continue to interact with us at KBC Channel 1, at O'Brien Kimani, and who knows, I might end up reading some of your comments right here on air. Well, let's continue. Where President William Ruto has come out strongly to defend his track record, dismissing his critics who argue that the economy is still struggling. While delivering his third State of the Nation address in Parliament, President Ruto highlighted that he termed as clear gains made among them a decline of inflation from 9.6% in 2020 to 4.6%, which he says has brought relief to millions of Kenyans. Working on that story, and of course, once we have it, we're going to, of course, bring it to you. Let's now turn to Deputy President, where Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki and Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku have intensified political attacks against impeached former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as the UDA party stepped up campaigns in Mbeere North, Embu County. Campaigns have also intensified in Baringo County, Banisa, Kasipul, Magarini, as well as Malava, Ugunja, and 17 wards.
Addressing a rally in Kanyumbora while campaigning for UDA candidate Leonard Muthende, Kindiki told off Gachagua, warning him to stop abusing leaders and declaring that the former DP was not his match politically. In the same rally, CS Geoffrey Ruku launched a scathing cultural and political attack on Gachagua after he allegedly entered a traditional women's kitchen during his recent tour of the region.
Ndugu yangu asikuje kunitusi hapa ni nyumbani. Aombe tu kura ya Karish. Pole pole tu apembeleze watu mambo ya Karish. Awachane na mimi.
Hauna nidhamu. Haujui sisi kama Wambere. Hatuingiangi kwa kitchen.
Still in Mbeere North, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua made an impromptu visit to Mlachake Muguka Market, showcasing his charm offensive to garner support for Newton Kariuki as the next member of parliament for the area. Gachagua emphasized that Mbeere North needs to vote for a dedicated and selfless representative to advocate for the marketing of Muguka.
Mtu ambaye atasimama bunge kutetea Muguka bila kuogopa. Chague Karish
In Malava constituency, Kakamega County, a team supporting UDA candidate David Ndakwa, led by Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza and Navakholo MP Emmanuel Wangwe, toured various areas where they claimed that some opposition leaders were plotting to interfere with the by-election.
Sisi tunataka kuambia, we are putting you on notice. Tunataka all our police officers kushika doria, kwa sababu tarehe 27 kura ambayo inapigwa Malava ni kura ya amani.
Wale wengine wakikuja kutembea, wacha wapate amani yao. Sisi na Mheshimiwa Ndakwa tunasema amani idumu.
Ukitaka barabara lazima upate kwa serikali. Barabara huwezi kupata kwa opposition.
Elsewhere in Magarini constituency, Kilifi County, united opposition leaders accused ODM of using state machinery to campaign.
Mnajua hii kiti nyinyi Magarini mkileta utakuwa mmefungua mlango hii serikali mpya kuingia Kenya.
Kijana wenu huyu ameonyesha hawezi nunuliwa. Hii ndio sampuli ya wabunge tunaotaka wakomboe nchi. Sawa?
Kwa hivyo watu wa Kenya wako na sababu moja sana. Na ndio sisi jana na leo tukasema lazima Mungu atujalie tuje tuangalieni, tuzungumze, tuamue hata wakileta pesa ngapi, kwanza mkule hizo pesa.
Finally, campaigns in Kasipul constituency have taken a dramatic turn after UDA party officials from Homa Bay County publicly declared their support for independent candidate Philip Aroko, dismissing claims of a broad-based candidate. ODM, on the other hand, has intensified its campaign for its candidate Boyd Were, with senior party leaders pitching camp in Kasipul. Despite the tensions, the race has attracted over 10 candidates, with campaigns rising a notch higher as the polling day nears.
The ODM fraternity branded me as a UDA mole in Kasipul. Today, all these guys are here with us. We welcome you to the broad-based government.
Sisi hatuzungumzii mtu mwingine yoyote. Kila mtu auze sera. Ile kazi ambayo atafanyia watu wa Kasipul.
Let's embrace each other. Let's campaign peacefully. At the end of the day, we only need one member of parliament. And the people of Kasipul will decide whoever will be the member of parliament.
Michael Moniga for Prime Edition.
From the world of politics, let's go back to the State of the Nation address, where President William Ruto has come out strongly to defend his track, dismissing his critics who argue that the economy is still struggling. While delivering his third State of the Nation address in Parliament, President Ruto highlighted what he termed as clear gains made, among them a decline of inflation from 9.6% in 2020 to 4%, which he says has brought relief to millions of Kenyans.
While outlining his scorecard during his third State of the Nation address at Parliament, President William Ruto did not mince his words, indicating that the economy is on the right trajectory, contrary to what his critics claim. He cited several indicators, among them over 300 newly registered businesses, which he says reflects renewed investor confidence.
Our critics, the high priests of eternal pessimism, who criticize without responsibility and tear down without offering alternatives, will want you to believe that our economy is going in the wrong direction. But while everyone may speak their mind, and that is the beauty of our democracy, no one is entitled to manufacture self-serving falsehoods and traffic them as facts.
President Ruto also defended the new health scheme under the universal health care coverage, arguing the program is already improving access to quality health care among vulnerable groups, despite critics over its rollout.
When I promised that those unable to pay would be supported by government under UHC, the cynics scoffed as usual. Today, we are paying premiums for 2.3 million vulnerable Kenyans, including orphans, widows, the elderly, and those without income.
He also hailed his affordable housing flagship program, saying those who doubted the project are now seeing the fruits.
3 years ago, when we said we would deliver affordable housing, the cynics dismissed it. They said it was fantasy. When they realized we were serious, they called it impossible. And when we broke ground across the country, they suggested that these projects would stall. Today, those doubts have given way to a very different question from Kenyans everywhere. How do I own one of these units?
The president also reaffirmed that there is no turning back in improving the status of the country. His pledges drawing loud support from lawmakers who rose to their feet.
Honorable members.
The president, however, concluded his speech by challenging leaders at all levels that they will be judged by their actions and impact. The president handed over 3 crucial reports to Parliament for consideration, including report on the state of security, report on all measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of national values, and report on progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
The National Assembly now stands adjourned until Tuesday.
President William Ruto's speech there gravitating around the performance of Kenya's economy and, of course, infrastructural development. Still in Parliament, where members of Parliament have termed this year's State of the Nation address by President William Ruto as candid and reassuring at a time when Kenyans are demanding clarity on key national issues. Speaking after the head of state delivered the address in a joint sitting of Parliament, MPs noted that the president struck the right balance between outlining government achievements and acknowledging the economic pressures facing ordinary citizens. Others highlighted the president's emphasis on infrastructure and digital transformation, adding that Parliament is ready to fast-track legislation that supports these priorities. Makers also urged Kenyans to give the government time to implement ongoing reforms, saying the address has set a constructive tone for the year ahead.
What the president has read today, it's a roadmap. Sometimes he may not achieve everything what he said today during his time in office, but he's giving us a roadmap that he's able to do some things, and because government exists by perpetuity, so whoever comes in later, following this roadmap, we are going to achieve the vision of the president. He also criticized the opposition leaders because when you criticize the government, you say the affordable housing is bad, the universal health is bad, the education model is bad. So you must give an alternative, which the opposition leaders, they have not given us any alternative to say.
The things he talks about sound like dreams, It's because we've never experienced that kind of leadership in our country before. But thank God we have it now. And I'm just telling Kenyans to brace themselves for a 5-year track record of the president that has never been achieved by any other president.
I'm going on very confident, very happy, and very recharged that my country, my nation, is in a journey to move from that world to a first world country. A journey that is very tough, a journey that is very tedious. But we must walk the journey. And the man has been bold enough today. We've seen a bold president in William Ruto that he is saying, look guys, we cannot just live for the moment. We cannot just live for elections. We have to live for a dream, for a country. For the first time, we have a president who has painted a future for the country.
And seriously, we don't expect him to perform magic, but where he's supposed to whatever he's supposed to do, then he's supposed to do. But I feel strongly that he requires support for all of us to work together.
These are projects that he's pronounced himself to. What is this that is going to do to make sure that it's done? People will say, he has said, will they be done? I'm telling you, next week on Friday, the Rironi Summit road is being launched. And if you've seen how the contract has been done, we have sections of the road being given to different contractors so that the speed is terrific.
When we talk as leaders, remember that you are speaking before God and the people who elected us here. Yeah. So let us trust the Kwamba. Whatever he said today is going to take place. Because he's a part of us, we will also push him to ensure Kwamba. We don't care about when you talk of politics. That is normal.
Let's now head to the corridors of justice, where chaos broke out at the Ol Kalou Low Court on Thursday after the family of a 24-year-old murder victim, Angela Muthoni, rejected a 5-year sentence issued to the primary suspect, terming the ruling rushed, unjust and deeply disappointing. Emotions ran high as relatives claimed no witnesses had ever testified in the case, which is barely 3 months old.
Tension-filled Ol Kalou Law Courts after Justice Kiaria Waweru sentenced the primary suspect in Angela Muthoni's July murder to 5 years in prison, sparking immediate protests from her family. They say the case had only 2 mentions and no witnesses were heard, with their lawyers led by Kamau Ngugi condemning the ruling and planning an urgent appeal.
Being a murder case, the family of the victims were informed that there was a plea bargaining that was entered into without their involvement. A probation report was given. The judge went ahead to give a sentence which we feel is very unlawful and irregular.
This is justice denied. Muthoni was just 24 years old. I have evidence. I have records, witnesses. They were never called. Hakuna mtu ameitwa.
Angela's mother, Beatrice Njoki, said 5 years is not justice for her daughter.
We have not seen justice, and we are appealing for the government of Kenya what to fanyie justice. It is very hurting. Hata we are not able to talk. We have been crying, and I don't know how we are going to do it.
The Judiciary Public Forum, chaired by the same judge, opted for mediation. In Nairobi, detectives in Nairobi will continue holding 6 suspected armed robbers for 21 days after Madaraka Law Court's magistrate granted the prosecution request for extended detention. The suspects, 4 Kenyans, a Tanzanian, an Indian national, were arrested on Sunday, November 16th, following an alleged break-in in a home in Nairobi South B Estate. The case will be mentioned on 10 December 2025. Elsewhere, a Milimani court has released Sami Chelimo Chelanga on a 500,000 bail in an impersonation case. Chelanga allegedly forged a letter to Treasury PS Dr. Chris Kipto from the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers (KUPPET), dated 31st January 2024, nominating him to the public superannuation scheme.
And the issue at hand arose because of a political divide that was there at that time. And the same issue has been addressed, and we have been working amicably since that time.
Chelanga denied the charges as the prosecution lined up KUPPET officials as witnesses. The case will proceed for pre-trial on 20th November 2025.
Bond of Kenya shillings 500,000 with a surety of similar amount, or a cash bail of 200,000 with one contact person. We'll mention on 28th of November for pre-trial. Documents will be supplied to you on 28th of November.
Letwa Debra for Prime Edition.
Well, I mean, since we started this broadcast at about 9 p.m., we've been talking about the State of the Nation address, which was done today by President William Ruto during a joint sitting of both houses, where the president spent the better part of his speech talking about the state of the economy, the planned interventions in areas of agriculture, health, as well as infrastructural development. And some of the highlights include the fact that the government is going to spend about 5 trillion Kenya shillings to expand various infrastructural projects in the country. These include Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, the Bomas Ongata Rongai Road, among many other projects. The president has also talked about increasing fertilizer subsidy so that we can double our maize production in the year 2026. Other highlights include the improved health care services in Kenya because of the Social Health Authority. Of course, the president has, acknowledged that there have been teething challenges, but the government is putting in place various measures to address that challenge. Joining us in studio is Dr. Sylvester Kasuku. He's a governance expert and, of course, an advisor to the president. And he's joining us tonight. He listened to the speech. I don't know whether he was in Parliament, but he's going to tell us this. And so he's going to share with us some insights around that speech. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Kasuku, for joining us. Where were you when the speech or when the address was made?
Yes, definitely. I listened to the speech from my office, considering that I was attending to other matters as well. But I gave it a keen ear.
Yeah.
Right.
What is your assessment of President Ruto's third State of the Nation address?
O'Brien, as I've always said it, Kenya as a country is a great country. And Kenya has great leaders. Forget about our politics. Forget about the rhetorics. But one of the things that Kenya is greatest at is planning for development.
Yeah.
And that's why in many instances, you also hear that a lot of policies that are developed in Kenya are equally borrowed by other countries and implemented so perfectly beyond what Kenya does with the same policies that it originates. So coming straight now to the today's speech undertook what I can call a profound unveiling of great plans for this country, of which a number are actually under implementation.
Yeah.
And these are not just policies, these are transformative policies and strategies to take this country to the next level.
Yeah.
And I do know very clearly, and many Kenyans who are also in the know equally share the same opinion, that a lot of these issues have been canvassed before. They've been discussed before. They've been contained in the law before. They've been put in policies that have been passed by cabinets and parliament and have equally been included in the development plan. Whether you are talking about Vision 2030, whether you are talking about MTP4, and even the previous MTPs like MTP3 and the others, whether you are talking about the Better Plan, whether you are talking about other policies that are also encapsulating our national policies. Like if we look at the East African Development Master Plan, like the Infrastructure Plan, among many other plans. When you look at Africa Agenda 2063, when you look at IGAD Infrastructure Master Plan, a lot of these things find they find a ground for relevance, and they also draw from a number of these plans and policies. Forgetting about the politics, as I've said, we have great plans discussed today. We have great programs that are currently under implementation discussed today, and we have great outcomes as well. And do take note that these are outcomes. First of all, I'm giving a broad brush before I can settle on any of the sectors. These are statistics that have been talked about today, are statistics which are verifiable, they are documented, and they'll form part of literature as well as information that will continue to guide development studies going forward in this country and beyond. And if we look at areas of infrastructure, many a times whenever infrastructure programs or plans are unveiled in Kenya, sometimes people discussing at the local level start to think that these are plans that have been hatched locally here without any connection to any other policies that are being espoused in the region or in the continent. And that maybe they have no linkages. What I want to say that what we are discussing in infrastructure sector today, whether you are talking about roads, whether you are talking about rail, whether you're talking about ports, whether you're talking about airports, whether you're talking about water, ICT, power, and any other, we are talking about infrastructure that has a great foundation on the Africa Agenda 2063 Master Plan, of which we equally have a delivery timeline for infrastructure at the year 2040, under which we have about 53 key projects in the continent under what is called Program for Infrastructure Development for Africa. Why are we having this, and why is Kenya so key to this? Because infrastructure is one of the areas where Africa is most deficient. And the deficiency in infrastructure is actually denying Africa 2% of GDP growth rate per year, denying the African continent in general. And lack of infrastructure and poor access is equally denying Africa 40% of its opportunities. So when we start discussing about development of Africa, of which Kenya is part and parcel, we are losing 40% of opportunities that are already available with us because we do not have requisite infrastructure and we have inabilities in accessibility. Now, coming down, the programs that have already been identified even at the continental level and regional level have cascaded down to our country, in which Kenya is a key delivery country, because Kenya also is a regional hub in its own right, and also a continental hub in many other respects. So if Kenya does not undertake these developments that we are talking about, then it means even the region and the continent is equally suffering. So when we start to look at what we are doing negatively, that maybe we are overshooting the runway, we are actually missing the point in understanding the big picture of how Kenya is playing out in the region and the continent.
And we saw the president, spending a lot of time, enumerating some of, the project that his administration is planning to undertake. And mind you, some of these projects, like for example, the much talked about the Rironi Mau Summit, Nakuru to Malaba Highway.
Correct.
I mean, the master plan for the development of this road was completed in 2004?
Yes, the studies for the Northern Corridor, that is now called the Northern Corridor. And that time, the studies were sponsored by the World Bank. I was a young professional involved in a number of these studies as at that time. And I remember very well, very vividly, that the studies on the on privatization or on involving private sector on the Northern Corridor from Mombasa to Nairobi and all the way to the West Kenya side, even up to the borders with the neighboring countries, was undertaken by a company called BKS from South Africa. Yes. And the reports are there. It did show very clearly that the traffic numbers were justifying investment by private sector. And that going forward from that 2004, 2005, we were going to have greater growth, traffic growth, as well as demand for a much more improved, road infrastructure asset on the Northern Corridor. And at that same time, we were also talking about opening another second corridor, which is now the Lapsset Corridor, because they were contained in the Integrated National Transport Policy. Mark you, the Integrated National Transport Policy was drafted in the year 2003-2004. And it equally talked about dualing the Northern Corridor. Now that it's on the basis of those policy proposals that the initial studies were undertaken.
And that we are talking about 21 years ago.
Yes, 21 years. And we are not yet settling on it politically. When it is mentioned, people still think that we are overshooting the runway.
Now the president is talking about launching the construction of this highway.
Yes.
Next week.
This is long overdue, and the president is right in doing this. And you did see recently when people were stuck between Nairobi and Nakuru, you will not forget the fact that people also got burnt when some vehicles caught fire between Naivasha and Kinangop.
Sachangwan?
Yes. No, the Sachangwan, that was an accident. But there is a time when some vehicles caught fire and a lot of vehicles were burnt on the same road. And it was due, it was as a result of the traffic snarl-up that occurred. And then some accident occurred. And it caught everybody trapped in the accident. And a lot of damage was caused. lives were lost, and we are actually sitting on a time bomb each and every time we are having snarl-ups on this highway.
I also want to hear this. Look at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. This is a project that the president talked about, which is dragging development in Kenya. The president is talking about starting the refurbishment and expansion of JKIA next year.
Yes.
We've been talking about this, and Vision 2030 talks about this.
Yes.
What was described as the greenfield terminal.
Correct.
I want to hear this from you. What do you expect to see once we start constructing JKIA, and what are we missing out with JKIA in its current state?
O'Brien, you are aware that the JKIA that we know was constructed in the 1970s.
1974, actually.
1974, yes. You do understand that if you look at a number of airport infrastructures in the region that were also constructed at the same time, they have long been relegated. Talk about what Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, has done.
Bole International Airport.
They actually did a new Bole some years back, and they are doing another one right now while we are still debating around JKIA of 1974.
In Bishofty region.
Yes. And at the same time, what we are not having done, that His Excellency the President is now gearing to do, is the fact that Kenya has been a regional hub, even in terms of aviation. And many a times when other countries are rising and putting up great infrastructure or investments like what Rwanda has done, what Ethiopia has done, among many other countries are doing, you realize that they are also actually chipping away part of the business that we previously had. And the regional hold or the regional hub capacity that we had, we lose its sense if we do not upgrade our airport, if we do not put up the requisite infrastructure that will now bring us to the new technologies, airport capacities, and there's requisite services that go with the modern airports. And if we think that the business we are seeing at JKIA is the only business that we need to handle, we are actually behind news. We need to move to the next level, what His Excellency the President is talking about. And in putting up that particular airport, what was already even proposed in the Greenfield Terminal, which is now again over 10 years behind schedule, as was previously planned and actually was already in the works to be constructed. So we have been going back. We have been moving backwards in a number of these developments.
To help us understand this, because the president spent a significant time of his speech, talking about infrastructural development. Why is the president so keen on developing and expanding Kenya's infrastructure?
O'Brien, I've already said that infrastructure, as already underscored in the Vision 2030, also underscored in the Better Plan, is indeed a great enabler. Infrastructure is not built just unto its own self, but infrastructure is built as an enabler to other sectors of the economy. You need infrastructure in the form of roads, railways, ports, airports, energy, telecommunication or communication systems, water, among many other things, so that other sectors of the economy can actually use them as enablers to flourish. Now, without adequate infrastructure, as I've already said, the African continent is losing a share of its GDP, a significant share, 2% every year. In terms of opportunities that we have, so if we talk about Kenya being the land of opportunities, the fact that you do not have requisite infrastructure already diminishes the capacity of your opportunities. They can be there, seated, waiting for investors. But lack of infrastructure that will facilitate their tapping, that will facilitate their, their exploitation, in itself is a drawback. So what His Excellency the President is talking about is that we need infrastructure to facilitate the tapping of potentials and opportunities that are found in our country. That's number one. Number two, if you do not do requisite infrastructure that enables the various sectors of the economy to be exploited efficiently, then you also get into the art of doing expensive business. You also make private sector business very expensive. Because if you do not create the enabling environment by implementing infrastructural programs that support those development activities, then it also means that you have not facilitated those activities to be done efficiently. So whether we are talking about roads, we need roads. And the African Infrastructure Master Plan requires that by the year 2040, we actually need to have built about 37,000 kilometers of new roads.
New roads.
In terms of railways, it is talking about that the African continent requiring to have built 32,000 kilometers of new railways. In terms of ports, it is talking about the need for the African continent to build more capacity to the tune of 1.3 billion ton added capacity for African ports. What I want to tell you is that countries like Kenya, that are the fastest growing, that are the hubs within the continent, actually need to move at a faster rate in terms of implementing the infrastructure programs so as to enable the various sectors of the economy to move forward. And take note of this before you say what you wanted to say. The infrastructures that we need at the same time are also what, as it is already said before, that we will be cutting the cost of doing business by putting in place the requisite infrastructure. And a recent review by the African Union of infrastructure programs in the continent, touching on different regions and different countries, revealed that overall, many countries are not implementing the required infrastructure programs that need to move the African continent forward. And it is already seen that without implementing these programs, the African continent is not going to take its rightful position in the global industrialization, fourth industrial revolution. So what His Excellency the President is doing is that he's readying Kenya. He's readying Kenya, and it's already there in the African Union report of 2022, saying very clearly that African countries are lagging behind, even though on that particular report, in that particular report, Kenya, Ethiopia, and among many other countries, some few countries are actually doing better than the rest of the African, better than very many African countries. In fact, Kenya and Ethiopia are top in terms of championing infrastructure program implementation.
Very well. Just as an advisor to the President on matters governance, out of the 163 points that the President touched on, he never talked about anything on governance. He never talked about corruption, fighting corruption. He never talked about streamlining service delivery. He never talked about streamlining the public service. What is your take on that?
O'Brien, I think sometimes when we want to look for gaps, we actually get them the way we are looking for them.
But that is the reality?
No, that's not the reality. What I want to tell you is that the President went on a practical approach rather than giving you a descriptive approach. He did not talk about symptoms. He did not talk about problems, but he went straight into solutions. And that's why you've mentioned quite a humongous number of great programs that he has put in place. Each of these programs are founded on law. Each of these programs are guided by regulations, which are already there. Each of these programs have institutional systems that are spearheading them. Each of these programs are founded on policies. Each of these programs are meant to be driven in the manner that conforms to governance principles. So you don't have to come back again and start saying that I want governance, I want what. There is already laid down laws under which these programs are embedded. There is already an underlying policy framework that is providing a framework for the implementation of these programs. There are already regulations to guide how they should be implemented. So anybody who thinks that by the mere fact that the word governance was not mentioned, that now governance is not a priority, I want to say that that is a person who is only looking for a word to be mentioned, but not a system to be unveiled. What the president did is that he unveiled the system for socioeconomic transformation of Kenya. And the structures that embody that unveiling is already in place. And it doesn't have to be drummed beyond reality.
Do you believe, Daktari, that you know, there were Kenyans who are waiting to listen to the president outlining his agenda on streamlining the public service, improving governance within the public service, and of course, fighting corruption? Do you think there were Kenyans who were genuinely waiting to hear that?
O'Brien, many a times, we might say that there were people waiting to hear a certain word. There's a difference between waiting to hear and getting results delivered in a systematic manner. The delivery of what the president was talking about depends on a systematic drive. And that systematic drive, if you look at the economy from a systems point of view, if you use systems theory to define what you want to deliver, many a times, if you want to go to the practical approach to get out of rhetoric, then you tell the people the tangibles of what you want to deliver. Otherwise, if you go back into describing how you want to do it, you know, the mechanics, describing the mechanics of how you want to do something, sometimes also derails you from delivering the vision that you want the people to see. So today the president did not talk about the mechanics because the mechanics are already there. Yes, they're already there. They're already established. There are already institutions driving them.
He talked about deliverables.
Yes, he spoke about the deliverables, what Kenyans are looking forward to see, what Kenyans want to consume. The mechanics of doing it is already in place.
I want to hear this from you, Daktari, because we should be coming to an end of this conversation shortly. You know, there is the talking and then there is the walking.
Yes.
And for you to achieve the talking, you must do the walking.
Correct.
When you look at all the plans that the president talked about, you know, from improving the social health authority, improving the social health care, roads, agriculture, through fertilizer subsidy, mechanization, as well as the construction of 50 mega dams. When you do a SWOT analysis of all these, what would you say are the strengths and the weaknesses of what the president talked about in achieving all these aspirations?
O'Brien, the sheer number of programs that are currently being spearheaded by the administration, led by His Excellency the President, are magnanimous and numerous. And all of them are programs that are touching the real lives of the Kenyan people. Whether you are talking about infrastructure, you are talking about health, you are talking about agriculture, you are talking about industry and manufacturing, you are talking about e-commerce, you are talking about uplifting, or let me use a bigger description to cover quite a number. Whether you are talking about the MSME sector, how to deal with the issue of embedding productivity in the Kenyan processes or in the Kenyan economy. What I want to say is that the strength in what His Excellency the President spoke about today is that, number one, and which is always spoken about, even in areas where we are talking about theories, is political will. Every government, irrespective of how much programs they unveil, and irrespective of how transformative they are, if there is no political will If there is no leadership, they cannot be delivered.
Do you think the president has the two?
His Excellency, the president, has that clearly mapped out in his DNA. He has it mapped out in his office.
So that is not a challenge for
That's
him?
not a challenge, and I think Kenyans now know that when he wants to deliver, he delivers. And he has no qualms about delivering.
Very good.
And he has no blockages. Yeah, he doesn't call craftsmen and spanner boys to come and do it for him. He knows how to lead. And if he wants to deliver, you cannot stand in front of his delivery.
The president...
Because he wants to do it for Kenyans.
The president also said that he has spent the first term the first years of his administration laying a strong foundation for the achievement of all these. And he said that the next term will be built around implementation.
Correct.
Sounding highly optimistic that that Kenyans are going to give him another term during the next election in 2027.
Yes.
And so for the implementation of all these programs, what would you want to see being put in place?
For the implementation? O'Brien, as we were talking about strengths and what is needed to achieve the reality in all these plans, is number one, as I've already said, political goodwill. Number two is the leadership. Number three is the financing. And we've already seen, yes, and that's why I'm explaining all these items one by one. In areas where the national budget was not able to cater for the programs, like under social health programs as well as affordable housing, you saw the president himself come up with mechanisms of how to provide financing. At the same time, there are areas where the government has already identified for delivery, but has elements of private sector participation, or is attractive to private sector. Again, he has spoken about how to involve private sector in that delivery. So what I can say is that you just need to put in place the requisite support mechanisms, what I call the critical success factors of political goodwill, of leadership, of financing, and the remaining things are now the system coordination, the system framework. Whether you're talking about policies, you're talking about regulations, and you're talking about the human capital is given. Kenya has the requested human capital. We are not sure of it. So all these items that are required for the delivery of these programs are within reach. They are in place.
The ducks are in a row.
Yes, and maybe the thing that you can talk about, which might look like is a weakness, is actually the political psychology in Kenya. Yeah, because whenever something is brought up, there is always a quick dismissal in the political arena. But of course, that's the nature of Kenyan politics.
Very well.
And I would like to say that should never ever come in to derail programs that have already been identified to be implemented. Because again, I want to remind you, when you put in place programs to deliver of the nature of what His Excellency the President unveiled today, if you listen to the naysayers, if you listen to your critics and then you fail to deliver, again people will say you planned and you did not deliver.
In the interest of time.
But if you deliver, they will give you thumbs up.
In the interest of time, Daktari, in 1 minute, I want to hear this from you. If you were to rewrite the president's speech, what would you omit and what would you add?
O'Brien, I want to put it very categorically that what was written and read today is the conch medicine. If you want to change its composition, you are going to destroy the plan. What I would like to say is that maybe it is a matter of semantics. Maybe I could have removed English, but I can still retain the exact structure of the plan.
You just retain the structure of that speech?
Yes.
Very good. Anything else do we need to hear from you before I let you go?
What I would like to say is that I wish to urge all Kenyans to find purpose of participating. Because again, in all development programs, we always expect, even if you read from points of theory, people's belief and people's participation in development programs is key. And we need to be each other's keeper. We need to be nationalistic, and we champion the development programs because their outcomes is what will cause the transformation that we are looking for.
Very good. Yeah. Dr. Thank you very much indeed, always for turning up when we need you, and of course for helping us with critical insights on critical issues.
Asante sana.
Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Dr. Sylvester Kasuku is our presidential advisor on matters governance, joining us tonight to help us put some sense into the president's speech, which was delivered today in Parliament under the State of the Nation address. Let's move on now. A cloud of grief, sorrow hovered over the Dumberi Stadium in Kiambu County as family of musicians and friends of the late Beatrice Wairimu Mbogwa, also known as Betty Bayo, gathered to bid the final farewell to the renowned musician. Bayo died on Monday, November 10th, 2025, while receiving treatment at the Kenyatta National Hospital after battling acute myeloid leukemia.
Thursday morning, the convoy ferrying the remains of the late gospel musician Beatrice Wairimu Mbogwa, popularly known as Betty Bayo, left Kenyatta University Funeral Home, snaking slowly through the Kiambu Road en route to the Dumberi Stadium for the burial ceremony.
We are negotiating at this corner.
And at the stadium, family, musicians and thousands of her supporters gathered to offer their final salute to the fallen icon and a singer who inspired a generation. The choir performing her favorite worship songs, transforming the stadium into a pool of emotional tears. Here, tributes painted a picture of an iconic lady who lived fully, sang boldly, and always loved deeply. Betty's family spoke of strength in her final days, fighting bravely despite the pain.
I told her that we miss her and we love her, and it's so sad to come back home to not see your mom there anymore because she's sick in the hospital. I used to come to school telling myself when I come back home I'll see mom. You know, she used to have a favorite like spot where she would sit down. So I would always imagine come back home and see her there. But I never saw her.
But hear this, my love, and hold it close in your internal rest. My commitment to our children is now the very engine of my life.
The clergy describing her as a pillar of ministry, while fellow artists remembered her as a big sister whose generosity and humility defined her music career.
Wakati nilikuwa nimeshindwa kiasi kununua shamba ya kujenga kanisa kule, alikuja akanipea $500,000, 500,000.
You build your life with grace. You raise our children with humility. You forgive more than most people ever could.
The late Betty Bayo rose to the limelight through her inspiring tunes, including The 11th Hour, Maneno, Jemedari, and Nokore Tukadayo, among others. She was later laid to rest in a private ceremony at Mugumo Estate along Kiambu Road. She is survived by her two children, Sky Victor and Danny Victor, and her husband, Hiram Gitau. As the nation bows in grief in honor of a legend, one thing remains undisputed. Betty Bayo leaves more than just melodies. She's left a legacy built on faith and a voice that healed millions of hearts. And truly, an icon exists, but her legacy marches on. John Kahiro for Channel 1 News, Dumberi Stadium, Kiambu County.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Sasa kwa star 419 hash uko na game mpya. Tushinde spin corner. Simply spin. Kisha ngoja, na kwa entry moja unaweza angukia na uspin hadi mara 3. Na ikigonga 25,000 na kufikia instantly. Cheza spin corner sasa hivi kwa star 419 hash option 4.
Tushinde.com. Cheza safe, cheza smart. Gambling is addictive, not for persons under the age of 18 years.
Je, wewe ni mpenda soka? Na je, wajua kuwa KBC mwenzio wako wa dhati michezoni anakujali? Ndio maana KBC Channel 1 hukuletea taarifa na uchambuzi wa soka.
Kafu ndio wamechukua usukani
humu nchini, barani Afrika na ugaibuni, ikiwemo EPL, Serie A, Bundesliga na ligi zingine. Mashabiki pia hutuzwa kwa kujibu maswali kuhusiana na soka.
Swali letu la leo.
Haya yote ni kwenye kipindi cha Dunda Dunda kwenye KBC Channel 1 kila Ijumaa kuanzia saa 5 asubuhi hadi saa 6:30 mchana.
Nawahimiza Wakenya waendelee ku-watch Dunda Dunda show.
KBC, mwenzio wa dhati michezoni.
Get ready to feel the rush of the open road. From 19th till 23rd November, the African Road Cycling Championships come to Kwale County. Watch Africa's fastest cyclists from all over the continent battle it out on Kenya's stunning coast. Be there to cheer the champions or catch every thrilling moment live on TV. Don't miss it. The African Road Cycling Championships from 19th till 23rd November in Kwale County.
Welcome back. Let's now talk about livestock farming, where Kenya faces structural financial challenges in its ambition to build a climate-resilient livestock subsector. During a high-level engagement between the government, private sector and development partners, stakeholders noted that it is necessary for key players to de-risk the livestock value chain and streamline regulations to build investor confidence.
Despite its immense economic potential, the livestock subsector continues to attract minimal private investments, and this is largely due to fragmented producer systems and reliable supply chains, weak extension services, and the absence of affordable insurance and accessible credit.
We know that these drought cycles will come every 2 to 3 years, and therefore we need to position ourselves in a way that we can have water supply through ponds and dams, also conservation of feed during the rainy season when you have grass or feeds, and therefore that would make it possible for us to save on the animals that are remaining, and of course destocking program so that we don't have overgrazing.
In the forum, bringing together financial institutions, agribusiness, private sector associations and development agencies to identify investment opportunities and tackle barriers limiting private capital flows into the livestock value chains.
Getting an aggregated number of pastoralists in terms of pastoral farmers. It's very difficult to look at insurance cover for an individual pastoralist farmer. Ideally, index-based insurance products consider groups of farmers. Now, getting groups of pastoralists is difficult.
And we would like to see that grow to 100, 400, or even 1,000 people in a group. It makes it cheaper and makes it easier for them to access other services besides insurance.
Insurance firms are challenged to scale up index-based livestock insurance models and expand financial literacy to increase uptake among pastoral communities.
The landscape of financial perspective is changing, and now it is looking about investment that drives profit and also drives opportunities of creating both economical growth and also responding to climate adaptive system.
The Retirement Benefits Authority wants the Kenya Revenue Act reviewed to empower the tax agency to recover unremitted pension contributions from non-compliant employees. RBA Chief Executive Charles Mashira says this will help in the recovery of more than 70 billion shillings in unremitted dues to various pension schemes in the country.
The pension sector has expanded significantly, with total assets rising from 40 billion shillings in 2000 to over 2.5 trillion shillings by mid-2025. Coverage has grown from 10% to 26.5% of the labor force over the same period.
The ratio of the pension assets in Kenya today starts at 15.2% of our GDP.
However, those 7.5 million Kenyans are registered under the pension schemes, only about 4 million are active contributors. The sector is also saddled with unremitted deductions, which threatens the industry and employees' retirement.
Punish and penalize employers who are not remitting contributions on time, simply because 90% of the schemes that we have in this republic are defined contribution schemes, which rely on the investment income earned by those contributions. And if they are not remitted on time, then these employees are disadvantaged.
The Retirement Benefits Authority Chief Executive Officer Charles Mashira is proposing an amendment to the Kenya Revenue Act to empower the agency recover unremitted pension contributions from non-compliant employers. RBA is also pushing for the criminalization of non-remittance of pension funds to protect contributors.
To achieve dignity in retirement, the authority has set out strategies in its strategic plan 2024-2029 that we are implementing.
Under the new strategic plan 2024-2029, RBA aims to grow pension assets to 3.2 trillion shillings and expand coverage to 34%, anchored on reforms that strengthen compliance, enhance governance and promote a savings culture nationwide. Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Let's now turn our heads now to sports, where President William Ruto has been honored by the Confederation of African Football during the 2025 CAF Awards ceremony, where he was given the CAF President Outstanding Achievement Award for his outstanding contribution to the growth and development of Kenyan football. The CAF Award was presented during the last night ceremony in Rabat, Morocco, where it was received by Kenya's ambassador to Morocco, Jessica Gakinya. The award comes in recognition of Kenya's government's transformative investment in football, from infrastructure development and talent pathways to robust athlete welfare programs. One of the key achievements highlighted is Kenya's successful co-hosting of the 2024 African Nations, which was elevated Kenya as a sporting powerhouse and a leading destination for continental tournaments. The award was also acknowledged broader reforms, the expansion of world-class stadiums, community talent academies, and a new architecture for talent development. The President of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, and the President of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu, were also awarded for successful co-hosting of the 2024 African Nation Championship, where the co-hosts reached the quarterfinals for the first time.
The development and growth of African football needs the partnerships of our governments, and every year we give our recognition and just express our gratitude to those countries on the African continent, those heads of states, those governments that have partnered with the 54 African member associations for the development and growth of football.
I want to thank you, President Mosepe, for giving Kenya an opportunity to host CHAN that just concluded a couple of months ago. It was indeed an honor for my country. I would also want to take this opportunity to really thank you very, very much for the work that you do in CAF. The work of football. Football brings people together. Football brings societies together. and football brings countries together.
And of course, congratulations to President William Ruto, Yoweri Museveni and Samia Suluhu. The 2025 edition of the African Cycling Championship entered its first day at Absa Grounds, Diani, Kwale County, with Ethiopia's Kiros Tesige dominating the women's junior 14-kilometer race. The 17-year-old timed 10 minutes 56 seconds to emerge victorious, while Kenyans Jep Korir, Mercy and Sharon Cheruiyot finished in the 10th and 12th positions, respectively. Frederick Muoki has the details.
2025 Confederation of African Cycling African Championship entered day one at Ukunda, Kwale County.
Ethiopia's Kiros Sige dominated the 14 kilometers women junior race after timing 10 minutes 56.97 seconds, followed by Ethiopia's Tefsu Adiam in 11 minutes 2.86 seconds. Rwanda's Yvonne Masengesho was third in 11 minutes 20.561 seconds.
This race is good. The weather is hot and there is humidity. Those riders is the first time to race in the outside of Ertra. That's why we prepare a lot of train.
Meanwhile, Kenyans Jep Korir, Mercy and Sharon Cheruiyot finished in the 10th and 12th positions respectively.
Race haijakuwa mbaya sana, japokuwa tu kwa baridi imekuwa nyingi. Leo race imekuwa vizuri. Leo imekuwa ngumu kidogo.
The boys' 14-kilometer race was won by Hadi Tristan of Mauritius in 9 minutes 24.64 seconds, while Eritrea's Ephraim Nahom and South Africa's Wolidin finished in the second and third positions respectively.
My performance good. It was hard with the heat, I think, for everyone, so my legs were good. I was feeling fast on the course, and yeah, it was nice.
This is the second time that Kenya is hosting the Confederation of African Cycling Championship after hosting the previous edition that was held in Uasin Gishu County, with the government seeking to promote sports tourism within the country. Reporting for Prime Edition from Ukunda, Kwale County, my name is Frederick Muoki.
Well, of course, our reporter Thea Muoki reporting from the dazzling Diani, which has some of the best beaches here in Kenya. Well, and on that note, we come to the end of the Prime Edition today. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We have been in the company of our sign language interpreter, Anne Wangeshi. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed on behalf of the entire production team. Asante and have a good night.
For charity, dial *419#.